Well, I wanted to take this call out, man, kind of to do a summary. Like I wanted to share with you what I saw, the shifts that happened within you, the internal shifts, the external shifts, the seasons and stages of life. And I wanted to hear your thoughts and your experiences. And I wanted to use this as a time to just really hear everything and kind of summarize and put a nice bow to our time together one on one. And like I said, I want to bring you into the group program as well too. And I'm not going to charge or anything like that, just because I want you to feel a good sense of just safety. Sometimes when you have a deep connection with someone like this, just kind of pulling the rug out could be a little bit overwhelming. And I don't want that to, yeah, I don't want you to have that experience. So I wanted to take this time out just to kind of do a summary on my end and hear a summary on your end, and just kind of summarize our whole time together from October, first week of October till now.
Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely, I was very, I don't know how to describe it, but I think being in the job, like the the lack of control
Mm,
and the way that I saw myself in that job wasn't how I wanted to live my life.
mm,
And doing this, it really feels like I'm finally like taking control of my life and
mm,
you know going all out, like living
mm.
life according to my terms, which is how I want to live it. And it's much more uncertain. I'm realizing I've got a lot less reason to be afraid than I think I do. Um, it's still hard not to let my parents influence me.
Mm,
Um, Even now, I still like we had Easter and stuff, and I know that'll be probably one of the biggest points of like I need to work on my own personal growth and
mm,
communication and being like it's not their fault, they're just grown
mhm.
up kids kind of thing, which is a
Yeah,
really hard mature thought, but it's like don't you can't give credence to it, don't explain it like that, just use that knowledge and act like a man.
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, and so I'm excited because truthfully, this is what I wanted. Like I've always wanted to be a leader, and that means more responsibility.
Mm,
Um, I do feel like I see where the world's headed, and I think I have when my perspective is right, I see that I feel better about what I'm learning, and I know this is going to be way more valuable
mm,
in a year, in 5 years, in 10
mm.
years. If I keep doing this, like I will be an expert and a half, and
Yeah,
I'm really excited about that.
yeah.
Um, I know it's hard too because like my parents are afraid for me,
Mm,
and I can see it. They don't mean to give into it, but like they just grew up differently, and
mm,
the world that they understood is different too. So it's like
mm,
all of these are just harsh realizations that you kind of just need to sit with.
mhm,
Um, and then with regards to friendships, like I've been I think what our time together has helped establish is just like if you feel like something isn't fair or isn't good, you have the ability to communicate it and change it
yeah,
or just back away. Like you don't have to give your attention to that. Like it's
yeah,
and if you do, it's abuse, quite frankly.
yeah.
Um yeah, and just developing like I just doing away with poor uh, worldviews, like or just misinterpreted worldviews. Like there was a Bible verse that I didn't realize was so pervasive. The idea that the heart is deceitfully wicked,
Mm,
and so like you shouldn't trust your own intuition is honestly
mm,
how that was interpreted, and
mm,
that's not correct. It's not how it should be. Um, yeah, so just developing that sense of if this doesn't feel right, that's trustworthy. Like if you
mm.
don't feel good about the circumstance, it's because it doesn't align with your values and something's at conflict here.
Yeah.
Um, but also just like coming to terms with if you want good friends, you need to be a good friend, and what does it mean to be that, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
much more mature thoughts, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Christian, when you came and we first started this, I really saw like a lot of societal fear in you and a lot of fear, like just like the normal track. Like, okay, I'm in my job. I got a college degree. Like I'm on the path and like just going to do whatever like my parents, my society, like society says, like that's it.
Yeah.
And I saw you really shut down from your creative inspiration, and I could see that something wasn't working. There wasn't there wasn't that happiness, or there wasn't that motivation and drive
Yeah.
that you wanted. And I saw so much potential within you. Like I told you when we first started, I still see this and I know this. You're a young guy, but 35, 36, 37, 38, as long as you continue down this creative path, you'll have your own company, like your own software company. I know you'll be successful with it. I mean, I can see people who, like, when you're willing to accept and own reality and your experience of life,
Mm,
like that's all really success is. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to own it or not. And so I saw you go from a shift of I can't keep continuing to not listen to my heart. I know this job and this work that I'm in isn't right, and I just
mm,
need to take the jump. And then I saw you take the jump, and there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of worry, there's a lot of insecurity. Can I create life on my terms? Can I create money on my terms? Can I do my passion and what I love at the same time? And I saw creative overwhelm, I saw entrepreneurial overwhelm, which is all normal, but those are all challenges of the entrepreneur that eventually settle down,
mm,
and that the entrepreneur eventually knows how to work with and deal with and doesn't find nearly as overwhelming. And so I saw you take this plunge and leap from the path that was handed to you, that was given down to you by society and your family, and then your own individual spirits or souls knowing, which Carl Jung would call the individuation process. And you're still on your hero's journey, like the hero's journey of of leaving the community, of leaving the family, defining your own path, having it be hard, having trials,
mm.
doubting yourself, doubting the world, doubting truth, and eventually you'll hit and you'll land and you'll return to the same community that you came from and be able to share and show them that this was the right thing. And you're not there yet. You're getting close. Like I see the inner belief has switched now. Like you're on the other side of it. I see the conviction has switched.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be hard to it's always hard content to I think to continue that hero's journey, but once you prove to yourself, your family, this your society, that no, you can do what you love and have security at the same time, I think that'll be a really triumphant moment for you.
I I guess this past month or two I've been listening to the book Start with Why by Simon
Yeah.
Sinek, and I I keep thinking about it and then not forgetting it, but it just gets like crowded by a bunch of aspirations and values and stuff. Um, and the truth is, like, when I really think back to why I started doing all of this, it's because like I tried to project myself 10, 20 years in the future and see like best case, worst case scenario for society. And like, I just want more control, obviously,
Mm,
um, on one. And then two, just being able to live out my beliefs. And sharing that why with other people to me means like science is the best tool we have for identifying true reality.
mm, mm,
And not only that, but like the only laws that are actual laws are the laws of nature.
mm,
And like understanding the laws of nature and understanding ourselves or understanding the nature of humanity is like truthfully understanding God. And
mm.
you know what I mean? It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like just these different changes of mindset, and I know I have work to do with building more gratitude, um, but just the idea that like you're alive, and that's a blessing, and that's the only thing that matters is this present moment. Like it is a beautiful thing to be alive. um, Yeah, so just carrying that message of like science, technology, accountability, and transparency, because
Mm.
like the world that we're entering is very dangerous, and there are wolves among sheep, and I want to be a shepherd,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's a lot of good to do, and I just got to slowly start building it and sharing that message of like this is really cool stuff, but it's also very dangerous.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's. I love what you said about the laws of nature. I don't know if you're familiar with Robert Greene, but he's written like the 48 laws of power, law of like art of war, the law of seduction, and the last one he did was the laws of human nature.
Mm.
And it's been cool to see his path of human understanding through his books. And that's really it. Like you can get in line with the laws of nature, or you can try to fight it,
Yeah,
and it's like totally up to you. Like what creates friction and fear and anxiety in people's systems is has nothing to do really with what's going on outside of them. It has everything to do with how aligned they are to their inner world and their values and their external.
yeah,
And there might be times where we go out of it and come back in, but really what I saw for you, Christian, was like you were out of it when we first started, and you finally heard the calling of your heart and your spirit, and you actually listened to it and acted on it. And it's still scary. Like that's
yeah,
the thing. Like it's scary. Like it's scary to follow the heart. It's scary to follow the spirit. And there might be times where you doubt and uncertainty, but that's the created path. And those are the people who actually move life forward, society forward. And even though it sometimes is, it can in some ways be a harder path. In other ways, it's also way more fulfilling, it seems. And I really saw you take ownership of your own path as we went through this. Like in the beginning, it was like you accepted the path that was handed to you. You were discontent. You weren't happy with it, but that was the one that was handed to you. So you weren't going to do it any other way. It was like, okay, this is just what I'm doing. And then it seemed like you got to a point where you're like, well, I don't know if this is really it, but at the same time, it feels right. And you started getting more in touch with your values through your projects and your creative work. And now it seems like you're about 75 to 80% there of saying like, okay, like I accept that this is who I'm going to become and this is what I'm going to be about. And I'm willing to risk it all in order to make it happen.
yeah.
And that's taking responsibility for your life, and I really admire that about you, because if you're willing to follow your heart and what you know is true to you all the way to the point where you're going against your family's values or society's seemingly values, like that is a warrior's path, and that's not easy. But I've never seen someone who has that level of conviction not do it.
Mm.
And even if it may take more time than you think or longer, or you have to make compromises, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's a part of it. So I really saw you kind of I saw you own who you really were. Like what you knew on the outside that you weren't listening to when you first came to me, I saw you own and then started speaking up for. And you found your voice. You found your voice and you're willing to put yourself out there in new ways, and like that's what it's all about. Like once you find your voice and you share that with the external world and the outside world, you're going to get
Yeah.
flack, but you're also going to get people who really love and appreciate you as well too. And I see that that's really where the point that you're at now. It seems like you're 80% there, where you're like there's kind of no turning back, and I'm just going to continue to make it happen and move it forward. And you will. And you might have to do other things and shift maybe, but you will do it. And I
Mm.
see that for you. You stepped onto your own creative path, and That's what it means to be coming into manhood. Some people never come into their manhood. Some people are 55, 58, 59, 60, 70 and die with never fully growing up or never fully waking up. Like they were asleep and they just kind of followed what was given to them.
Yeah, I definitely feel much better. Um, it's kind of like one of those things where you can look back and say I have no regrets about the choice, and I'm much happier making the choice that I did. I know I have a lot of work ahead of me, but I feel much better equipped. Um, I feel like what I'm spending my time and my focus on is what I want to spend my time and my focus on. Like, I don't feel like I'm banging my head against the wall anymore. Um, like the work that I'm doing is like not always my favorite, but that's just like due diligence, and the end result makes it worthwhile, I think, or at least the end goal. Um, yeah, I mean, even this past week, I have a downloadable I've been trying to build for my website because I know that once I start advertising, it'll be hard to like actually keep building stuff because all of my attention is going to have to go to the newsletter or taking calls with people because I got to make money. So like, so I'm excited, and I've been telling Natalia like, on occasion I'll be like, I'm very very tired that it's been taking this long, but it's necessary. Um, there was like a bit of a hiccup with the posters, but like that was good because it was the first of many, I'm sure. Um, because the posters weren't sized appropriately, and then that's just going to cost more, but it doesn't matter. So, and I found ways to make it work. It took a little extra effort, but like I'm still making it work. I'm really excited to build a community on social media, um, and just share what I believe. And that's the focus that I want to keep going back to, which is like, you say you want to be a thought leader and you think you have these powerful thoughts, which I really do. Just, being conscious of not being ego driven, but everybody's an extension of me. And the more you give into the ego, the more you start losing, quite frankly. Yeah. Like if you want your will to have precedence, you need to be above it, I guess, in a sense. So like these kind of thoughts, and yeah, just leading with love, not letting my emotions get the best of me, making sure I'm serving people. These are kind of the main thoughts that have been going through my head. I have a lot of projects that I really am excited to build, but like I just need to get a foothold. I need to get a foothold, develop a bit more of a reputation, interact with people, because I've been in a creation period and now it's time to go interact with the world. So that's the cycle that I'm going to go through. Create, and then let's interact, create. And I've been sort of organizing. I've been trying to figure out how to. I think I mentioned this last time, but trying to figure out how to organize my week around my major responsibilities of, sales and marketing, product creation, research and insights. Just those three, really, and then my relationships outside of work or outside of personal growth. So those four. But I'm excited, and I kind of want to show you this exposure kit too.
Please. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Yeah, let me, there we go.
1 second. Top here. So, can you see this?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have to edit some of these, but so this is the downloadable when you go to my website. Let me do this real quick. Can you see my website?
Yes.
All right. So if you were to type in and hit get free kit, that's what this is. And so as you go through it, artificial intelligence. Like it gives you a good idea of who I am and what I'm trying to do, or at least what I think is worth paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and these are like major technologies influencing our world today, and it's a good resource to help people, I guess, just get their bearings with me as an individual and understand what I value and what I think is worth paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I hope that they get a lot of value out of this too. Um, but I think it'll hopefully be a conversation starter too. Basically, just like, hey, you've seen all of these technologies that given uh, uh, I've given perspective on. Is there anything in particular? Like, what do you want to meet about?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a very specific process, which is like going back to the why. Like, I'll share my why, but I want to hear your why.
Mm-hmm.
Because truthfully, until we are very clear about why you are trying to do anything, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I want to do consulting in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel more comfortable saying things like, I'm learning just like you are, but I want to walk with this with you and work with you. And um, once we determine your why, there are a number of ways that we can brainstorm and think about the how. Um, like, how are we going to accomplish this? And then, and the best way to do it, in my opinion, is taking advantage of these new age technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the what, which is what do you want to do, or what do you want to offer people?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited, and maybe just finding them partnerships, giving them pricing, like all of these are great ways that I can offer value, and at the very least, opening up people's mind to this is the way I think the world is headed. Like I think that's a brilliant value proposition. Um, And if anybody wants to talk about any of them, I'll say this: these are I think I can speak adequately enough to these are the implications of this technology,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
this is what will happen in 3, 5, 10 years from now. Um, and depending on the nature of your business, this is what it means for your business, or even like, um, depending on what you do, this technology is the most relevant for you, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's worth looking into. This is what's applicable. Because a lot of I think I have trouble reminding myself that a lot of these people just don't know about, or a lot of them don't even have a concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've been doing this for 4 months now, 3 months now, and this is just the beginning. So I'm very
Yeah.
excited. I'm very excited.
Well, that looks great. I mean, you did a great job.
So that makes me feel more comfortable. Like I got something to start with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel like you got something valuable to offer.
Yeah. Oh, and people understand what I'm about, I guess, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because like before it was like, all right, what is this? You want to learn about the future, new age technology. What is all that?
Right.
Now we
Right.
have some terminology.
What do you think you found within yourself since we started?
Um, More confidence that my opinion is the right opinion,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. More confidence that where I'm putting my attention is where other people should put their attention.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because when you really get down to it, what motivates people, what do they believe is worth the trade? Like that, this thought structure has really helped me understanding my own needs, understanding other people's needs, and like the privileged few that have their basic needs met and are able to focus on what makes life worth living, because not everybody even relates to that concept. And I'm assuming that depending, I mean, I have a better vantage point now to say, depending on who I'm talking to, oh, your basic needs aren't even met. Like, why are we
Mm,
focusing on this when
mm,
it seems to me that this is what really, because if anybody were to come to me and I start asking them questions, I would like to ask them, what do you believe is your greatest need in the moment? Or what is your greatest desire? And maybe they would even say like, well, maybe money or time or something like that, or I want my parents to respect me, or I want my friends and family, I want a girlfriend, stuff like that. Like there's the business world and there's the personal world, but they're all interconnected, and like I just think I have a lot more to offer now as a consultant,
yeah,
by blending those and speaking with authenticity. Um, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
just communicating this, like the technology is a beautiful thing, and in our lifetime it's going to do things that look like magic,
yep.
but understanding it and like the dangers of it helps us make a better world in general. So
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, Christian, what I saw you really find was your voice, your value internally, but also your voice.
yeah.
Like what you really care about, what really matters. And that's trustworthy. Like in our education system, we've been uh, trained and conditioned out of following our own natural genius.
Mm,
But that's our wealth. Our natural genius and our natural inclinations is actually our wealth.
mm,
And we've been conditioned out of that. And so what I really saw you go through is like there's that panic and that old fear conditioning that you had, and you left that. You went all in on yourself, which was nervous and nerve wracking and overwhelming at times. And I could see that as well too. I could see like the level of concern and fear. But that was just the layers that was put into you by your family and by society. And I get that, and I've been there. But I see now you're at a place where one, you found your voice, and two, you recognize the value that you bring, and you're starting to own that value.
mm.
And the cool thing is once you own that value within yourself, and then you start speaking that out to the external world, that's the exchange of money.
Yeah, and I know that'll be a process too. um,
Yeah.
I don't feel as nervous about asking for money. i think
Mm-hmm.
i think it'll be very apparent. Like if I were to ask somebody if my hourly is 120, I think by the end of the conversation they would be like, wow, I did not expect that, but I'm very happy that I've made that transaction.
Yeah.
Like that
Mm,
kind of concept. So,
mm, mm.
which is great. And that's exactly where I want to come from, a place of my expectations were significantly exceeded. Um, yeah. Or even like that guy seems like he knows where the world is headed. And
Mm,
that's what I want, quite frankly. So,
mm,
um, and hopefully steering people away from the fear motif.
mm-hmm.
Like it's very easy to get caught up in the fear ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think in my personal life, I'm definitely going to make it a priority to try and be energy independent.
Mm-hmm.
I really think as far as like the material world is concerned, if you have access to your own energy independent of the grid, you can really insulate yourself from the outside world for the
Mm,
most part.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but otherwise, uh, yeah, I'm excited, and I think that with the nature of the economy in general, like people will support you if they know why you do what you do, and
Mm-hmm.
I like why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What do you think shifted in your relationships? Can we talk a little bit more about the relational life and what shifted there?
I think I stopped trusting my parents' advice quite as much, which was
Mm-hmm.
a good thing, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. Or I think I was able to see my parents a little bit more honestly,
Yeah.
which really helped. Um, I think I have been able to respect myself and the terms that I set for my relationships better. Um, yeah, like these old motifs of self-sacrifice, like you need to make sure other people are taken care of, like you really can't until you are taken care of. Or even just like, yeah, I don't know. This has been a big exploration period for me, just learning about history and what it means in the context of the Bible and spiritual teachings, and it's all taken a new light for me. But the rules per se have kind of been blown open a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I saw you go through a really big shift of seeing your parents as parents and seeing your parents as humans. Like I saw the perceptual shift happen within you, like, oh wait, like they're no longer an authority in my life. I am
yeah,
my own authority.
yeah. That was a lot.
Yeah.
And it still is, but it's good. It's very good. I mean, it's like there's a weird transition where they are the children now, and it's not entirely true, but just like demanding more respect from my parents for sure.
Yeah. 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 For who you really are.
Yeah, and the same is true for my friendships. Like, if are these genuine friendships where we uplift each other and we're mutually beneficial, or is it just toxic and
Mm,
I don't feel good around you and you don't feel good around me? Why are we still doing this? I don't feel like my time is well spent here, so why do I continue maintaining these and putting time and energy into this? Like, I'm really happy that I have been able to transition out of that and just reclaiming my time a little bit, quite
mm,
frankly, and especially my attention and like, yeah, and not like doing things just for the sake of doing them, but really
yeah.
being conscious of why I'm doing it.
Intentional.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
intentional, which
Yep.
I feel good about. Um, yeah, or even like I had a conversation with Natalia today. Um,
So,
Go
Christian,
ahead.
I'm hearing a little bit of feedback on you. Are you hearing a little rumble?
I did. I wasn't sure if that was. How about now? Is that better?
It sounds like something's shaking
It
almost.
might have
Just like
been
a,
my table. Oh,
okay, yeah,
I don't know.
it's done now. Yeah, it was like,
All right. Well, it's sitting on my coffee pot, so maybe that's why.
oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha.
um, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited. I think that I have a lot more control over my life. Um, I'm really excited the life that I'm building with Natalia. I think that my friendships are going to start improving more too.
Mm,
Um, I have concerns about making sure I'm not competing with them,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, making sure that they're not thinking that we're competing either. Really setting that precedent for myself and for them, redefining those relationships, um, being more conscious of when people might not have the best intentions, even though they
Mm,
say one thing and mean and do another,
mm.
even if it's your own parents, quite frankly. So everybody's just trying to get their needs met, you know? Yeah.
That's a big one for, I think, people to accept that everyone's just trying to get their needs met.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I'm in a better position to lead Natalia too, which feels good.
A better position to lead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like today she called me and she was like, I'm annoyed, or she said I'm upset. And she was upset because part of her friend group was hanging out without her and they didn't even invite her. And I was like, they're all single, first off. Second off, they've gotten used to us hanging out all the time. Um, how like just walking through the logic and saying, do you think it's fair? Do you expect that? And kind of helping her come to terms with, oh, the new dynamic is that if I really want to hang out with them, I need to be the one to ask. And yeah, and it was good to walk through that because it was like, for me, I was like, no, I haven't been invited to a couple karaoke nights, and like one of my buddies just invited me to karaoke or to trivia tonight, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man, but I'll hang out on Saturday to do disc golf. And I told Natalia, I was like, I'm happy with that trade. Like I'm very aware of that trade, and
Mm,
I am the one responsible for that trade. And the reason they're
mm,
not inviting me as much is because I kept saying no. So it's like
mm-hmm.
very similar thing here. Like I love hanging out with you, Natalia, and I think I'm very, happy with the trade that I've been making, So just being aware of that and they like where are they coming from? Just this kind of stuff. So
It sounds like you've become way more aware of the exchange of value,
yeah, yeah, I would say so.
which is really like, if you sum up entrepreneurship in one level, that's it.
The exchange of value. Yeah. What kind of negotiation are you willing to accept? Uh, how can we create value together? Yeah. Well, and one thing that I am very excited about, and I've mentioned this to you before, but I really think that my future has this in store somewhere, which is the power of collective projects. Um, like I asked Natalia the other day, what do Wikipedia, YouTube, and Minecraft all have in common? They are able to facilitate large scale collaboration, and
Mm,
people add to those projects without ever being paid for it.
mm-hmm.
Like Wikipedia is literally the world's largest library, and we spoke a little bit about that. And I was like, it's so much less energy to hit the undo button than it is to add content to it. And
Mm,
these principles, like you could solve so many problems if you're on the same page together.
yeah.
Like for her, I was like, what's something you really care about? She's like, education reform. I'm like, okay, well, if you can build the framework to let people participate, like radical things will change very quickly. And
Mm,
and the only way that that's possible is if you can disconnect your ego from the project and make it very clear that you are personifying the why
yeah.
behind the project. Yeah. So I'm excited about that, but that's a far off project. And but
What do you think the shift was in your relationships, Christian? What were they when you started, and what did they shift to?
more respect
Yeah.
for sure. I definitely think people were walking all over me,
Mm,
and it didn't feel good.
were you aware of that?
No,
Yeah.
no. Um, and I don't really hold. I mean, I kind of hold a grudge, but I'm really trying not to. Um, Trying to be aware of it's just people trying to get their needs met.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, like, what does it mean to be a good friend, to be a good family member? But like, you get out of life what you give. So yeah.
What did you, when it came to the relationships, what was the biggest shift? Like, one of the ones that I saw was the respect and recognizing that exchange of value, and the awareness there that, oh wow, like I'm not like everyone's trying to get their needs met, yes, but I have to be more aware of who
Oh
I'm
yeah.
giving my time and my energy and my presence to. Like, I saw that really come up for you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was huge. Um, I think part of it was because I saw John being so careful with his time.
Mm,
And for me, like if there isn't sacrifice, then you're really not. loving people, I guess.
Mm,
So I got to be very conscious of that too. Like if I want people to know I care about them, there has to be a sacrifice to an extent.
mm,
Um, yeah, just being aware of that for myself too. Like, what am I willing to tolerate, and what kind of terms am I willing to negotiate? Um, who do I admire, and why do I admire them? Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the boundaries have very much absolved, and I don't know. I just think I can pay attention more to, like, my life is mine now. Yeah, my life's mine, and I got a lot of life to live. So it is kind of funny. Like even thinking of having a conversation with like an 80-year-old, like they see me as like a spring chicken, literally, or like something like that. Like it's just very funny. Um, I know I have a lot of work to do with visualization too,
mm-hmm,
projecting myself and saying, where do you want to be in a year? Um, where do you want to be in 5 years? What does it look like in 10 years? How can I do that? Um, yeah, particularly the 1 year. Like if I actually want to make a certain amount of money, let's get very clear about it and hold
mm-hmm,
myself accountable. And yeah, yeah. Oops.
mm-hmm.
Um, trying to think what else. Yeah, yeah. Just building better relationships too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one of the biggest shifts too was with me and my dad's relationship, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very much dramatically redefined.
How so?
Um, one of I don't know, standing up for myself, I guess. I don't think my dad was. I don't really know what goes through his head sometimes. Like sometimes he's just being a man in his own regard, and then sometimes he's being a child, and like you know, a lot of men around his age have really deep childhood traumas, and that generation in general just never uh, was able to communicate it.
Yep.
And yeah, and it's a weird, it's a very weird context of like you don't have a war to fight, so the only war is the war of significance in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
and you want your child to see you in a positive light, but you're also human, just this stuff. Um, and I'm excited. I think it'll get a lot better slowly, but like there's still a lot to be done. Um, I think my dad still has a lot that he needs to respect me for,
Mm,
and that's gonna just like there's no amount of conversation. Like I think it's just rescinding attention until it gets there in my mind. Like
mm,
yeah, like it's just kind of one of those you need to do the action and then you'll earn the respect. That's it. It's that simple.
mm, mm-hmm,
If you want to have a voice, then you need to build and create and make your values very clear.
mm,
Um, yeah, like I just I have become very conscious of my parents unintentionally are very self-focused,
mm-hmm,
and the world revolves around them sometimes. And but that might just be, I mean, that's just being human,
mm, mm-hmm.
but being aware of it in general. So
I saw a big shift in your relational style as well too. It's like you became aware of your own needs, but at the same time you became aware of like everyone's really just trying to have their own needs met. And I need to respect myself, but I also need to have I have the power to create relationship dynamics however I want to create them.
yeah,
Like I saw that shift as well too.
that was a powerful truth for sure.
Mm,
Like, hey, you are an adult, so you need to speak the change into existence. Like if you don't like it, you have the power to change it. Like that kind
Yep.
of stuff.
Yeah. Owning your voice.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot,
Mm,
and it took a while, but it was like maybe a couple weeks to a month before the concept really started sinking in.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's been a good process all around.
Good. So we got the relationships, we got the passion. What else? What else do you think you just learned and found helpful and supportive?
Um, there's a lot more to life than I understood too.
Mm.
Like, um, yeah, true reality and the way that we understand reality is very different. If we are
That's
actually,
good.
it's true. Like we are just
Yeah, there's
on
what
a
you
rock.
think about life, and then there's what actually life is. Yeah.
Like especially the distance that humanity has given themselves between nature and society.
Yeah.
Like coming to terms with the history of why did we invent civilization? Oh, we did it so that we didn't have to spend so much time surviving.
Mm,
Um, Now that we're not surviving, are we still surviving? Why is that? You know, like why are certain groups of people not surviving and what are they doing with it? Like just coming to terms with these harsh realities, like um, everybody wants control. You create your own reality. Um, the best way to operate is with interacting with true reality.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and especially just the idea that like there is so much more that we can know. Like there's just so much more.
Yeah.
And when we put that as the pinnacle, like I truly believe that human beings are divine. Like we are. And when you come to terms with that, you have to respect other people.
Mm,
You are
mm,
like simply because of the fact that you are conscious.
mm-hmm.
We have something special about us. Like we are stewards of everything. Like we are in control. That's what it means. And it's kind of
Mm,
wild.
mm,
And your words are much more powerful than I originally realized. Um,
mm,
yeah, the power of thought, the power of belief,
mm-hmm.
um, the power of belief about ourselves and the world at large, and speaking beliefs into existence,
Mm-hmm.
the power of emotional momentum, um, the science behind emotions and
Mm-hmm.
how they actually have an energy to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, just all of that. And I don't know. I love thinking about it, but like I'm more excited to start creating stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm very excited for the future, especially just this idea that like no, the world is actually very crazy, chaotic, but like it's worth exploring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That's good, man. Anything else that you want to share?
Um, I'm excited to spend more time. Um, I'm excited to share my values with the world more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like the younger generation is going to continually be more about going back to the Garden of Eden in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is a very real choice in my mind of like people will either keep echoing that the end times are coming, or they like for me this is very black and white. Like in my lifetime, humanity will actually be interplanetary or we won't. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that concept is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, just respecting nature more too, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that nature, our concept of God from the Abrahamic religion is much, I don't know, we often put it in a box. And history as we understand it might not necessarily be the true history either. Like there's a lot. Every field of study has more to know. Yeah, yeah, just making sure that technology is helping people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, I see a much brighter future for sure. Um, yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been great to see you shift throughout it, man. I mean, it's been great to see the realizations that you've had, the trials that you went through, and there's a lot more to do and there's a lot more to go. But what I know is that we really laid a good foundation for you to follow your own path. And you'll continue on your own path. You'll doubt your own path. You'll come up against trials and tribulations along your own path. You might take breaks
Yeah.
along your own path, but it's your path. It's no one else's. And you'll meet enemies during it, but you'll also meet allies. You'll doubt yourself. You'll come into moral quandaries, but like it's your path. And that's a really admirable way of living.
It's true. Not everybody does that. Not everybody's living life on their terms. Yeah, I feel bad saying it, but I had a coworker that was like 45 in my sales department, and that kind of scared me because he was like, "Oh, I came in just like you," and then he got overlooked for management position, and then 20 years, 25 years later, he's still there. Like, I don't want to do that, and that
Yeah,
was a big thing.
that was a good realization that you had.
Or even just like 5 years from now I'll get a management position, or even 2 to 3 years from now I'll get a management position, and then I'll get a VP position, and then I'll get a president's position. But it's like I don't have enough control fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that concept.
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's good that you're not in that.
Yeah. Yeah, and just build momentum. I got to keep building momentum.
Yeah. Well, Christian, it's been an honor and delight, man. I mean, you've done a great job. You've really taken it in. And for me, it's going to be exciting to see the next year or two how you continue to own the value of your voice. And I think the next step for you is just really owning that internal value externally now. It seems like you've owned the value internally, and now just asking confidently and boldly for what you want without any shame or guilt or second hesitation.
Mm.
That's really like that's the next level of development that I see for you. And once you have that, wealth creation will never be an issue ever again.
I want to write that down. Jared, dude, this has been such a blessing to have
Yeah.
you as a mentor. I've learned a lot. I've learned way more than I ever expected.
Yeah, that's good.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Um,
I applaud you for sticking with it, man. Most people can't. That's why I charge all up front. Most people tap out.
well, to be honest, dude, like I also just really do admire your own life,
Thank
and
you.
I've been very privileged to see you go through a lot of it,
Mm,
and you have a powerful story, and I know you got a lot more to do, but it's fun seeing you, and it's a big inspiration for me. And I hope that like I live life on my terms, like I see you are. So that's what I'm